context. This is talking about pagans. Therefore, God gave them over in their lusts of their hearts to impurity, so that their bodies would be dishonored among them. For they exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. Its entire scene is about, this is a religious statement about the differences between pagans and Christians. It doesn't say, for this reason God gave you over to your degrading passions. God gave them over to their degrading passions, for their women exchanged the natural function for that which is unnatural. Matter of fact, that's the only verse right there that can be applied to lesbians, because everything else is in a male context, which is also a strange sign, because wouldn't they both be equally as problematic?
Yeah. Okay.
So, this is the only verse that would tie in to women or lesbians. But it's very specific in what it's saying. So, continuing on. God, for this reason, God gave them over to degrading passions, for their women exchanged the natural, for their women exchanged the natural function for which is unnatural. And in the same way, also the men abandoned the natural function of the woman and burned their desire toward one another, men with men committing indecent acts and receiving in their own persons the due penalty of their error. Let's leave it at that, because it does go into unrighteousness, wickedness, greed, evil, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, malice, gossips, slanderers. So anybody that has an issue using this verse to talk about homosexuality have to be equally upset about wickedness, greed, evil, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, malice, gossips, slanderers, arrogant, boastful, disobedient to parents. So everybody falls into that, but you don't hear that. So when you start reading those things and you start seeing that the church does not focus on the other part of the list, but focuses on homosexuality, you have to ask yourself, it's legitimate, John, to say, did man twist this into their own comfort, or is this really talking about homosexuality? Because if homosexuality is birthed, if it's biological, that's not what this is talking about. You can't give way to something that's unnatural if that's who you are naturally, right?
Right.
So it's only if it's unnatural. So this is a belief of my producer Neil. And in order for people to hear it in its entirety, I'm going to ask you again to hold tight, because I want to make sure this is explained so people aren't dismissive about it. So for the sake of that, it's imperative that I show the math of the program and my producer Neil on this. Not wanting to put words into anyone's mouth or into anyone's faith. But there's something that's important to this, another part of Scripture that is often misunderstood that I think might shed light. So hang tight, John, and I'll finish my thoughts on this when we return. You are listening to The Jesus Christ Show. To ask your question, dial 800-520-1544.
Hey, it's Gary Hoffman. Let's talk about your Medicare coverage. Are you new to Medicare? Scan Health Plan is here to help. With Scan, you get comprehensive coverage plus extra benefits that may surprise you, all with exceptional service you won't find anywhere else. Call Scan at 1-855-370-7226, TTY711, or ask your agent about Scan. Scan Health Plan is an HMO plan with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Scan Health Plan depends on contract renewal.
I want to break free. Ready to break free? Norwegian Cruise Line is back and sailing this summer. Get back in the Caribbean or take in the stunning sights in Europe. And with our robust health and safety program, you can cruise confidently. Book today and enjoy 30% off all cruises, free open bar, free airfare, and more. Visit ncl.com, call your travel advisor, or 1-888-NCL-CRUISE. Offer ends soon. Norwegian Cruise Line. Sail safe, feel free. Ships registry the Bahamas and USA. Restrictions apply.
I've got a stimulus for you. This weekend, Riverside and Huntington Beach Harley, buy any pre-owned Harley, get a $1,500 gift card. California's largest Harley inventory, Riverside and Huntington Beach Harley has access to over 1,000 Harleys and truckloads coming each week. Get a $1,500 gift card with the purchase of any pre-owned Harley at Riverside and Huntington Beach Harley. Finance specialists on site to get you approved and 100% of credit applications considered. Get a $1,500 gift card when you purchase any pre-owned Harley at Riverside and Huntington Beach Harley now through Sunday. You forget to purchase of any Harley motorcycle.
Celebrate your rad dad with a day full of grilled goodness from Sprouts Farmers Market.
Dad deserves the best, so give him the rich, flavorful, 100% grass-fed Angus steaks with no added antibiotics or hormones ever.
Pair with succulent lobster tails for a surf and turf dinner at home he'll be sure to love.
Plus, you can order all of your Father's Day essentials for pickup and delivery on Sprouts.com or through the app. Service on your first order is free.
Visit your local Sprouts Farmers Market or learn more at Sprouts.com today.
Sprouts, where goodness grows.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn your best price from nearly a dozen highly rated price competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote Life. For example, George is 40. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $25 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino. And believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-509-1667. That's 800-509-1667. 800-509-1667. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Now you can get generic Viagra shipped to your door for about $2 a pill. Get the same impact for less. Call Steelman Pills now and get the same blue pill for about $2 a pill. Call now for the 50-pill special and save even more. Plus, get a free bonus. 800-847-1077. 800-847-1077. 800-847-1077. 800-847-1077.
Hey parents, have you ever wondered how to talk to your kids about the crazy things happening in the world? As great as schools can be, they often don't teach important things like how to start a business or how the economy works. That's why your family needs the Tuttle Twins books. These books teach important ideas that teachers and textbooks don't really discuss. Go to TuttleTwinsRadio.com to get your set of books. You'll get a 35% off discount and free activity workbooks too. That's TuttleTwinsRadio.com.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Taking a look at the roads with your KFI traffic through Baldwin Park, 10 west of the 605. New problem. If you are heading this way, we got a stalled car in the center lane. Traffic is stacking from Fraser, downtown LA 110, north Southeast 10. Benefiter in the slow lane. They are waiting for that tow to come on the scene. And if your travel takes you to Valencia, southbound side of the 5 at McBean Parkway, they are pushing a wreck from the center lane off to the shoulder. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Shana McCurcher.
It is the Jesus Christ Show. I am your holy host. Happy to be with you this Sunday as I am with you every single Sunday. Happy Father's Day to those of you who celebrate. We're wrapping things up. I want to get back to John, a very heavy question about homosexuality. John is a Christian and is married to a man and wrestling what has been wrestled with for a long time. I'm trying to break it down. Keep in mind, this has sexual content, and also this show is focused on mainstream Christian theology, and this may make some people uncomfortable, but the importance, by way of my producer Neil, is to show math here and understanding of Scripture and how you work through understanding Scripture, not just stuff that has been preached to you, but really getting to know Scripture. So we went through Romans 1 and talking about that it's set up as pagans and barbarians. It's set up talking about theology, not biology. And that has to be understood in the context in which it's being talked about there in Romans. So, talking about people giving over to unnatural things, people come to the conclusion, maybe wrongfully, that is a heterosexual, a homosexual. But in context, it's really a heterosexual acting as a homosexual or doing homosexual acts. And there would be a difference. So, John, you still with us?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so let's sketch more of this out. In the story of Onan, in Genesis 38:8 through 10, God orders Onan to sleep with Onan's recently widowed sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Onan has sex with her and pulls out and spills his seed on the ground. Familiar with the story at all?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So the Catholic Church and others, for centuries, said that shows that masturbation is wrong because spilling your seed is wrong.
Right.
However, that is an incorrect interpretation or understanding of that verse for a couple reasons. It would imply that women could masturbate and men couldn't because women can't spill their seed. Secondly, this is not about that. It's that God commanded Onan to sleep with his recently widowed sister-in-law because of a lineage. There was importance to it. It was disobeying God that Onan was punished for, not spilling the seed. Spilling the seed when God said to produce a child was the sin. So you see a misrepresentation of what the conclusion is. They're assuming that spilling the seed is what's wrong, and no, what was wrong was disobeying God.
Right.
Now you move towards positions. The Godhead is not about equality or inequality, right? All of the Godhead, the Trinity, are equal, but the positions are different. And that difference in position is imperative. So it is the belief and a working understanding that my producer Neil has been working and really deep diving. It is a belief that the reason it is Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, as the silly saying goes, is that was necessary for the procreation and the design of the planet.
Right.
But just like everything else that's described in Genesis, when God creates, he creates polars. Day and night, correct?
That's right.
But by creating day and night, does God not create dusk, dawn, noon, midnight, and all the variance between those two poles?
Yes.
When God says in Scripture, in Genesis, that he creates the bird of the air and the fish of the sea, did God create turkeys that don't fly? Penguins that don't fly? Are they not birds?
Yeah, they're just different species.
They're different spectrums. They're different parts of the spectrum between the polars designed by God. The conclusion, hopefully showing as much math, and again, this show focuses on mainstream Christianity. Don't get political. This is something that has touched producer Neil's heart for a long time, and that he's continually looking into this in a greater understanding than just the church's presupposition based on the handling of humankind that can pollute messages. This is scripturally based. So imagine, if you will, John, that the polars were created by God purposely for creating humans, and that was a necessity. Once that necessity is fulfilled, or it is a position for those people doing it, if someone was called to go forth and multiply, and they did not do that, and they decided just to focus on the sex part with each other, not perpetuating the call to populate the planet, that would be a breach of their position. Just like Onan breached the command of God. It wasn't about the spilling of the seed. It was about disobeying God, the position that he gave Onan. So in that case, a man and a woman disobeying, creating, and populating would be disobeying God's position for them in that context, not saying that if two women were together, two men were together, or any spectrum therein between the poles are wrong. Lastly, you'd have to ask yourself, because God does change positions, it was completely okay for incest at one point, right? There was no way to populate the planet otherwise.
Right.
Not until the Levitical laws is that gets an end put to it, because it's no longer necessary and would cause pollutants and problems. All these things to say that you can't find that maybe what is being said in Romans is people that were meant to perpetuate life said no to that, and that was their position and cause. And that the assumption is that God made Adam and Eve without understanding, just like animal life, just like daytime and nighttime, just like all the other things God created in Genesis, there's a spectrum within those polar pieces that have a place as well. And unfortunately, John, we're up against the clock. More importantly than all these things, I hope you study, I hope you learn, I hope you're empathetic, and you remember these words. I am with you, always.
Good morning, Southern California. I'm Dean Sharp, the House Whisperer, custom home builder, custom home designer. It's